Was 16 years old and in my junior year of high school when this terrifying day happened. The school was huge with 3 full floors packed with classrooms, but even that was not enough space for all the classes they offered. So the school decided to build 2 extra classrooms down in the basement. The basement used to be just a janitorial area with mops and buckets and cleaning supplies everywhere. But they remodeled it to look more like a regular hallway with painted walls and better lighting. Still, it felt creepy down there, especially when no one else was around. There were no windows and the air felt thick and closed in. The only sounds were your own footsteps echoing off the concrete floors. One big problem was that there were no intercoms or loudspeakers installed in the basement at that time. That meant no morning announcements reached us down there. Because of that, no classes were scheduled in the basement for first period. Everyone called this little section of the basement the chamber. It became kind of legendary among students. People always tried to sign up for classes down there for a few reasons. First, it was one of the only places in the school that had air conditioning that actually worked well. The upstairs classrooms could get stuffy and hot, especially in the spring and fall. Second, the classes in the chamber were usually easier with teachers who did not push too hard. And third, there was a private bathroom right there in the basement hallway just for those 2 classrooms. No need to trek upstairs and fight crowds between periods. My schedule that year had 9 periods in a full school day. 5th period was lunch, which gave me a break in the middle of the day. Right after lunch came my astronomy class, which was held in one of those 2 basement classrooms. I liked astronomy a lot. The teacher made it interesting with stories about stars and planets and black holes. He showed us videos and let us use telescopes sometimes on clear nights. On this particular day we had a quiz in astronomy class. The quizzes were never too hard for me. I studied the chapters the night before and paid attention in class. So usually I was one of the first students to finish. That day was no different. I completed the quiz quickly and turned it into the teacher. Then I sat there bored waiting for the period to end. The classroom was quiet except for the scratching of pencils on paper. Some kids were still working hard, staring at their quizzes with confused looks. I pulled out my phone under the desk and started texting. I had a friend named JJ who was in the other basement classroom right across the hall. His class was some kind of elective, I think maybe art or something easy. I texted him saying I was done with my quiz and bored out of my mind. I asked if he wanted to meet in the bathroom because there was nothing else to do. He texted back almost right away saying okay, he would be there in a minute. The teacher did not notice me slip out of the classroom. He was walking around helping other students with their quizzes. I quietly opened the door and stepped into the small basement hallway. The door closed behind me with a soft click. The hallway was empty and cool from the air conditioning. I walked the short distance to the bathroom door and pushed it open. The bathroom was small with just a couple of stalls, a sink and a mirror. It smelled like bleach from the janitors cleaning it earlier. I went into one of the stalls and waited, playing on my phone. A few seconds later the bathroom door opened again and JJ walked in. He had a big grin on his face like this was some kind of adventure. We started joking around right away. We talked about the quiz and how easy it was. JJ said his class was doing nothing, just watching a movie. Or something. We laughed about teachers and other kids in school. We made fun of the way some students dressed or acted in the hallways. Time passed quickly while we messed around. Then JJ pulled out his phone to check the time. His face changed a little. He said someone had texted him that the school was going on lockdown. We both looked at each other and grinned at the same time. Neither of our teachers had seen us leave the classrooms. That meant we were free to roam around while everyone else was stuck in their rooms. We agreed it would be fun to sneak upstairs and look around the hallways just for the hell of it. The worst thing that could happen was we got caught and had to explain that we could not hear the announcements in the basement. Teachers knew about the no intercom problem, so they probably would not get too mad. We left the bathroom quietly and walked back down the small hallway to the basement stairs. The stairs led up to the main floor through a heavy door. I pushed the door open slowly and peeked out. To our surprise, all the lights in the hallways had been turned off. The entire floor was pitch black except for some light coming in from the big glass doors in the lobby at the far end. This was real because during normal lockdown drills the hallway lights always stayed on. Teachers just closed the classroom doors and kept teaching quietly or had us hide under desks. But turning off all the lights meant something serious was happening. JJ and I hesitated for a second. We were not sure if we even wanted to walk around now. It felt different, more dangerous. JJ stepped out a little further into the dark hallway and I followed right behind him. My eyes were adjusting to the darkness but it was still hard to see. JJ looked down the long hall to the left and whispered, "Who's that?" I strained my eyes and saw a shape emerging from the darkness. It was a man walking towards us slowly. At first we could not tell if he was a teacher or staff member. The school had a lot of adults around. But as he got closer the dim light showed he was not dressed like anyone who worked there. He looked like a bum with dirty clothes, a ragged jacket and messy hair. His pants were torn and he walked with a strange limp. "All right, let's go," I said to JJ in a low voice. We turned and hurried back down the basement stairs as quietly as we could. He had definitely seen us. His eyes locked on ours for a split second before we disappeared. We ran back to the chamber area. Both classroom doors were shut and the lights inside were off. That made sense for a lockdown. To avoid making noise or drawing attention, we decided to hide in the bathroom again. I pushed open the door and we slipped inside. The first thing I did was reach for the light switch and turn it off. The bathroom plunged into complete darkness. We both went to the corner stall, the one farthest from the door. We locked the stall door and sat on the floor trying to be as quiet as possible. The room was dead silent. There was no ventilation fan running, no heater humming, nothing. Just the sound of me and JJ breathing heavily and an occasional drip from the leaky sink. We sat there for what felt like minutes but was probably only seconds. Then the bathroom door creaked open slowly. A beam of light from the hallway poured in for a brief moment, lighting up the tiles on the floor. The door shut again and everything was black once more. Me and JJ tried our best to control our breathing. We took slow, shallow breaths through our noses. The room was so quiet that even small sounds seemed loud. We could hear footsteps. The person was walking slowly over to our side of the bathroom. The steps stopped right outside our stall. Then we heard breathing, really heavy breathing, like the person was out of breath. Or excited. It was ragged and close. Me and JJ were scared to death. Our hearts were pounding so hard I was sure the person could hear them. JJ did something very dumb in that moment. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "We have to crawl out through the other stalls." His voice was barely a breath but in the total silence it sounded like a shout. The heavy breathing outside the stall stopped instantly. The person heard it. Then we heard the stall door being pressed, the handle jiggling as someone tried to push it open. That was when I whispered, "Go, go," to JJ. We dropped to the floor and started crawling under the side wall to the next stall. The partitions between stalls did not go all the way to the floor, so there was space to squeeze through. We moved fast but quietly on our hands and knees. The person outside was now full on banging on the stall door. The bangs echoed in the small room. We crawled to the next stall and then the next one, finally out to the open side of the bathroom. We hopped up off the floor, grabbed the bathroom door handle and yanked it open. Light from the hallway filled the room for a second. In that flash of light we saw the guy from upstairs standing in the corner staring right at us. His face was twisted in anger or madness. We did not stop to look longer. We bolted out and pounded on the door to JJ's classroom. The teacher opened it quickly and pulled us inside. JJ started explaining everything in a rush of words. The teacher locked the door behind us and listened with wide eyes. He mentioned seeing a gun sticking out of the man's pocket. I was shocked because I had not noticed a gun in the dark, but I went along with the story anyway. We needed the teacher to believe us. Usually in a high school a bunch of students would be laughing their asses off at two kids causing a scene like this. Lockdowns were often drills and kids treated them like jokes. But this time was different. I looked around the room and saw all the kids sitting quietly in the corner. Their faces looked concerned and scared. No one was smiling or whispering jokes. A sudden bang at the classroom door made everyone jump. A couple of girls let out small squeals of fear. JJ, the teacher, and I were close enough to the door to see through the small window. The man was standing there looking in at us. He tried the door knob, rattling it hard. He banged on the door a few more times out of what seemed like pure anger. Then he turned and walked down the hallway back toward the stairs. His footsteps faded away. We do not know how much longer the lockdown lasted after that. For over an hour we sat in total silence in the room. The teacher occasionally asked me and JJ questions in a very concerned low voice. He shook his head after everything we told him like he could not believe it. He asked what the man looked like, how he acted, what he said if he said anything. We described the dirty clothes, the limp, the heavy breathing. Eventually someone from upstairs called the teacher on his cell phone. He listened carefully, then instructed all of us to line up single file. We were to walk quietly up the stairs and out of the building. Cops would be waiting outside to greet us. The walk up the stairs felt endless. My legs were shaky from the adrenaline. When we reached the main floor, the lights were back on, but the halls were empty. We filed out the front doors into the parking lot. Police cars were everywhere with lights flashing. Officers stood around directing students to buses or parent pickups. Me and JJ did the best we could, describing the man to the cops and to the dean. We told them about the clothes, the face, the gun, the banging. One of the cops patted me on the back gently and said, "Good job staying calm." Then we were sent off to go home. My parents picked me up and I told them the whole story on the ride. They were horrified and called the school the next day. After this incident, the school made big changes. They installed security cameras everywhere, in hallways, stairwells, parking lots, even the basement. They ramped up the security budget, hiring more guards and adding metal detectors at entrances. They finally put intercoms in the basement classrooms too. This whole event never got any media attention. No news trucks, no reporters. Maybe the school wanted to keep it quiet to avoid panic. Honestly, we never found out if the police caught the guy. No one talked about an arrest. I am convinced that man had no other intentions but to kill us then and there in that bathroom stall. If we had not crawled out, if the teacher had not led us in, it could have ended differently. I still think about it sometimes, especially at night. The what-ifs keep me up. Years later, I became a police officer in New Jersey. I served for 20 years on the force, retiring not long ago. Throughout my career, I responded to all kinds of calls: domestics, thefts, accidents, fights. But the most disturbing call I ever received was for a school lockdown at a nearby middle school. I will leave out the name of the school for legal reasons. It happened on a stormy, dark day in the fall. Rain was pouring down and thunder rumbled in the distance. The sky was gray and heavy. My patrol car number was called on the radio to respond immediately to a lockdown in progress. The report said a suspicious-looking man was seen stepping out from a white van parked behind the school. He walked directly into the back door by the boys' locker room. I flipped on my lights and siren and sped to the location. The streets were slick with rain and traffic was light because of the weather. I pulled up to the back parking lot of the school right next to the white van. It was empty. No one inside. All the doors were locked and so was the trunk. I tried them just to be sure. Rain pelted down on my uniform as I stood there. I radioed in the van details: make, model, color, any stickers or damage. Then I approached the red back door that entered into the gym hallway right by the locker rooms. I pushed it open carefully. The main lights inside the school had been turned off for the lockdown. The whole building was dark with only emergency lights glowing faintly. Shadows stretched everywhere. I unholstered the flashlight from my belt and clicked it on. The beam cut through the darkness as I navigated the halls slowly. My boots made soft sounds on the tile floor. I moved toward the lobby, checking doors as I went. They were all locked. In the lobby, a woman emerged quietly from the front office. She was a staff member, maybe a secretary. She whispered urgently, telling me to check the boys' locker room but to be very careful because the person might be armed. Her face was pale and her hands shook a little. I called for backup on my radio, keeping my voice low. Dispatch assured me backup was already on the way, ETA 5 minutes. I made my way back to the hallway I entered from. The boys' locker room was right next to the exit door. I pushed it open very quietly, holding my breath. There were no windows in the locker room, so no natural light at all. Only the beam from my flashlight illuminated the space. Rows of metal lockers lined the walls. Benches sat in the middle. The air smelled like sweat and deodorant and wet towels. There was a white noise in the room, some kind of vent on the ceiling blowing air steadily. But even over that constant hum, I started hearing faint scratching type noises. Little dings on the locker doors, like something tapping from the inside. Or maybe from the other side of the room. I froze for a second, listening. The sounds were irregular, not mechanical. I was supposed to announce my presence as a police officer right away. That is protocol. Shout, police department, show me your hands. But honestly, I was just too scared. The tension in the room was insane. My skin crawled. I held the flashlight in one hand and drew my gun with the other. Safety off, finger off the trigger. I snuck forward step by step toward the other side of the locker room. It seemed like wherever I moved in the room, the dings and thuds would come from the opposite side. Like someone was mirroring my movements or playing a game. I swept the light around but saw nothing. Just empty space and shadows. I was standing in the corner of the locker room right by the door to the bathroom when a loud slam echoed from another area. Someone slamming a locker door hard. It made me jump out of my skin, my heart racing. I swung the light toward the sound. The slam came from the boys' football team locker room. There was no door separating the main locker room from the football one, it was all open. The lockers in the football area were 3 times the size, big enough for helmets and pads. I moved in that direction, gun raised, light steady. The scratching sound stopped. Everything was quiet except the vent. I finally gathered the nerve to make my presence known. I shouted police in a firm voice. Show yourself now. Right after I shouted, a kid started screaming help from somewhere in the room. His voice was very muffled, like he was inside something. Then pounding on a locker door from the other side of the row I was in. I followed the sound quickly. The beam of light landed on a locker that was shaking slightly from the impacts inside. When I realized the boy was trapped inside a locker, I felt sick in my stomach. Nausea rose up. How long had he been in there? I told him, calm down, I am here, I will get you out. I would be right back. I radioed for more backup urgently and ran outside to where the white van was parked. But it was gone. Vanished. My biggest mistake was not getting the plate number the first thing when I arrived. I had been focused on entering the building. I told dispatch to put out a bolo for a suspicious white van matching the description. All units be on the lookout. I ran back into the school, splashing through puddles. I instructed the staff in the front office to end the school day immediately. Evacuate all students safely, and send somebody with a master key to the locker room right now to get the boy out. A janitor arrived minutes later with shaking hands. He unlocked the locker and we pulled the door open. The boy tumbled out crying and shaking. He was 12 years old, bleeding from a cut on his arm. He said the man held him with a knife to his back. The man was trying to get him quietly to the van without anyone noticing. The boy resisted and fought back, so the man cut him and shoved him into the locker to shut him up. The man planned to come back for him later, I speculate. We got the boy medical attention right away. Paramedics bandaged the wound and took him to the hospital. It was not life-threatening but deep enough for stitches. The white van was spotted a week later in a 7-Eleven parking lot across town. Officers arrested the man after the boy properly identified him in a lineup. He was a predator with a history. The case went to court and he got a long sentence. But that day in the dark locker room still haunts me. The sounds, the fear in the boy's voice. As a cop you see a lot, but that one stuck. Fast forward a few years and I was in college looking at Rowan University in New Jersey. I was visiting on my own because my family could not come with me. I attended campus tours all day, learning about majors and dorms and student life. The campus was nice with green fields and modern buildings. After the tours I was hungry, so I went to a nearby restaurant for a bite to eat. I had a burger and fries and a soda. Then I drove back to the Hampton Inn where I was staying. It was around 8 p.m. when I got to my room on the 2nd floor. I planned to go back to campus the next day for more events. The room was standard with a king bed, a desk, a TV and a small bathroom. There was a closet with a sliding wooden door next to the bathroom. I unpacked my bag and relaxed for a bit, scrolling on my phone. About an hour after returning, so around 9 p.m., a strange alarm started going off in my room. It was loud and piercing. At the same time, a white light started flashing from a device in the corner of the ceiling. I had never seen anything like it. Shortly after, a message started looping over the speaker. It said something like, all Hampton Inn guests please remain in your rooms, this is a lockdown, stay calm and do not open your door for anyone. I had never heard of a lockdown in a hotel before. Schools, yes, offices sometimes, but hotels. I never even knew they had alarm systems like this. At first I found it more interesting and exciting than scary. Like what could happen at a Hampton Inn? Maybe a false alarm or a drill. Eventually the loud sound of the alarm stopped, but the white light kept flashing brightly every few seconds. And every 20 seconds or so the message would repeat in a calm robotic voice. It was only like 9:30 p.m., so I was not ready for bed yet. I turned on the TV for background noise while I started changing clothes. I brushed my teeth in the bathroom and washed my face. Then I shut off the main lights and hopped under the covers in bed. I watched TV for about half an hour, flipping through channels. There was nothing good on, just reruns and news. I shut off the TV, but the flashing light was still going. It was obnoxious bright white, strobing into the room. It was definitely going to hinder my sleep, making it hard to relax. I was starting to consider calling the front desk to ask what was going on and when it would shut off. Maybe complain a little. Right then the room phone rang. It startled me. I picked it up expecting them to explain the alarm. It was someone from the front desk, a woman. I was ready for her to tell me about the alarm and say it would end soon. But instead she spoke in a very concerned hushed voice. She told me to remain calm and walk out the door immediately. Do not run, do not panic, just leave the room now. I took that opportunity to ask her what exactly was going on. Why the lockdown? She went on to tell me that there was somebody in the room with me and to get out immediately before he notices. I dropped the phone, letting it dangle from the cord. My mind raced. Instinctively I started looking around everywhere. Part of me was curious to see if somebody was in fact in the room with me for who knows how long. I checked under the bed, shining my phone flashlight. Nothing but dust. I looked into the empty bathroom. The shower curtain was open, no one there. Then I noticed the closet door right next to the bathroom. It was one of those closets with a wooden sliding door. It was open just a tiny crack, maybe an inch. And through that tiny crack I could see a person's face. Eyes staring out. At first it did not sink in what I was seeing. My brain tried to make it something else, like a shadow or a coat. But then the door slid shut slowly with a soft scrape. That was when I freaked out completely. I ran to the room door, yanked it open and bolted into the hallway. The door slammed behind me. My heart was in my throat. I ran downstairs to the lobby where people at the front desk were waiting. They looked relieved to see me. They showed me security footage from an hour earlier. Some sketchy-looking man was walking around the hallway slowly. He seemed to be looking for a certain room, peering at door numbers. When he got to my door he pulled out a key card somehow acquired and opened it. He slipped inside and that was it. The footage cut off there. I stayed around in the lobby shaking as the authorities arrived. Police came quickly. They went up to my room with guns drawn. Minutes later they brought the person out in handcuffs. It was a man, of course on the shorter side, easily in his 40s. He had scruffy facial hair and worn clothes. He looked at me as he passed by the lobby. His eyes locked on mine as if he knew exactly who I was. Like he had been watching me. It is scary thinking back that he may have been hiding in that closet for more than an hour. Waiting, watching me change, brush my teeth, get into bed. The police said he had a record for stalking and breaking in. How he got the key card was a mystery, maybe stole it from housekeeping. The hotel comped my stay and apologized profusely. I did not go back to that room. They gave me a new one on a different floor. I still visited Rowan the next day, but the excitement was gone. That night in the closet changed how I see hotel rooms forever. Always check the closets now, no matter what. The high school basement story started it all for me. That day shaped how I view safety and danger. I was just a kid bored in class, texting a friend, never expecting to hide from my life. The darkness, the silence, the heavy breathing outside the stall. Crawling on the dirty bathroom floor to escape. Seeing the man's face in the flash of light. It plays in my mind like a movie. JJ and I were lucky. The teacher believed us quickly. Let us in, locked the door. If he hesitated even a minute. The banging on the door, the rattling knob. The girls screaming. Everyone in the class knew it was real. No laughs, no jokes. Just fear. The walk out to the police cars. Describing the man over and over. His dirty jacket, torn pants, wild eyes. The gun the teacher saw. I missed it in the dark, but it was there. The school changes after cameras, guards, intercoms. All because of us. Because of him. Never caught as far as I know. Maybe still out there. The thought chills me. As a cop years later, the middle school call brought it all back. Stormy day, dark halls, white van. The boy in the locker screaming, muffled. Bleeding from the knife. The man trying to drag him away quietly. The scratching dings on metal. My fear announcing myself. Backup coming but feeling alone. The van gone when I went back out. My mistake with the plates. But we got him a week later at the 7-Eleven. The boy identified him. Justice served but the damage done. That kid will carry the scar forever. Physical and mental. I checked on him years later. He was okay but cautious. Like me after the basement. The hotel incident was the third close call. Alone in a strange place. Alarm flashing, message looping. Thinking it was nothing. Changing in the room unaware. The phone call, get out now. Someone in the room. Checking under bed, bathroom. The closet crack, the face, the door sliding shut. Running out barefoot in pajamas. The footage, the man with the key card. His stare as they took him away. Knowing my face, my habits. Watching from the dark. These three stories connect through darkness and danger in places that should be safe. School, hotel, work. Basement, locker, room, closet. Hiding, breathing, quiet, crawling, running. Strangers with bad intentions. Guns, knives, key cards. Luck and quick thinking saved us. Teachers, cops, front desk. Changes after security upgrades, arrests, new habits. But the fear lingers. The what ifs. The shadows that move when you are not looking. The sounds in the silence. Drips, scratches, breaths. Life is fragile. One moment bored in class, the next fighting to survive. One night relaxing in a hotel, the next fleeing for your life. One call on a stormy day, the next facing evil in the dark. I tell these stories to warn others. Check your surroundings. Trust your gut. Speak up if something feels wrong. In school, if you see a stranger, report it. In a hotel, lock the door, check the space, call if alarms go off. As a cop or anyone, respond fast but smart. Get plates, call backup, stay calm. The world has dark corners but light wins if we act. Those men, the bum, the predator, the stalker, they lost. We lived, scars and all. The basement chamber is probably still there. Air-conditioned, easy classes, private bathroom. But now with cameras and speakers. Kids still sign up for it. They hear rumors of the old story. 2 boys and a madman. They laugh it off. But I know the truth. The hotel still operates. Alarms ready just in case. Guests come and go unaware. The middle school has new locks, better vans parked far away. But the locker still stands. The one the boy was trapped in. Life goes on. I am older now, retired from the force. But I remember every detail. The grins before the fear. The crawl under stalls. The slam of lockers. The flash of white light. The face in the crack. Powerful lessons in simple moments. Boredom to terror in seconds. Safety is illusion until tested. We passed the test. Barely.